welcome back to the channel, and today a quick review for this, A Time of Blood by Gwynne. Now, this is the 5th book in Saga of the Banished Lands, the 2nd book in the Of Blood and Bone series, and it's a fantasy novel, so it's not going to be the shortest, but as far as fantasy novels goes, this is a fairly quick read. 474 pages in paperback here. That's around 146,000 words that I counted by my rough word count. And most fantasy readers will find this a fairly light read and will knock it out within a week. Now, what also helps is Gwynne is a massive action nut, I'm sure. Once again, he's ratcheted the action up again. Book 2 in this series, it just dials it up a notch over book 1. The characters, the POV characters, are already hard set. They're hard put on by the enemies in this novel, and the action starts pretty much from page 1. It is a high stakes novel. A lot of that same intrigue, the backstabbing, the machinations are back again from the first novel. And I think that's one thing that's really worth mentioning, because everyone that will talk to you about Gwynne will talk about the excellent characters and the excellent action, especially the action writing. They will talk about the action writing. But one thing I think has really stood out to me through the Banished Lands saga, and I think Wrath was, a big one for this, Malice especially Malice, but this novel is so good at taking a traditional antagonist and making them the protagonists of their own story and giving you that perspective of the baddie and making you feel sorry for the baddie and understand. You might not agree with what they're going to do, but you understand where they're coming from. And that really allows you to play, good versus evil in a way that elevates this novel above the average fantasy novel. I do feel like this is just one step above the average fantasy novel, these by Gwynne here. Maybe they're not going to win any awards, break any new ground, fight it out with, your personal top 5 fantasy novels. But I always feel like he's just one step ahead of the average fantasy novelist. And I think that's the special sauce that Gwynne has here. It does what it says on the tin, A Time for Blood. 4.1 out of 5.